this because I think I'm going to stay the course with this sweater. This is The Gym by Irene, and I probably have already told you that in the video. I blocked it because after the trouble I had with the Traveler, having this really deep scoop neck and then having a hoodie, they're both kind of drop shoulder designs, and also like this has a very low armhole, very low, like it's the bottom of the armhole is hitting where the bottom of Martha's bra is. I think I'm going to stay the course with this one because I think this is just the style of it. I was looking closely at pictures. I made the smallest size. I can't remember gauge wise where I'm at. I think it's pretty much on point. But I went for maybe it's a little bigger, and that's why I went for the smallest size. But the smallest size is like a size 50 chest, so it's really big, lots of positive B's. It looks pretty much the same. There is a really big collar that's going to happen, and I hope by the time you see the full episode, you get this. But there's like a 3-inch collar, which will really fill in here, and then it'll come down like this, and then I have more to knit, of course, another repeat and a half, and then more rib, which will add a total of 7 inches to the bottom, which should bring it down to like a length I like. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep going and we'll see what happens.
Hi, how are you today? My name is Shannon, and this is my YouTube channel, Whiskyandwool. This is my Knitters Live series, season 4, episode 12. It has been many weeks since I last made a full Knitters Life episode. A lot has happened, and yeah, I'm gonna try to recap some of it, most of it, a little bit. I finished The Gym, which you just saw a clip of, which I'll get into in 1 second. I just want to quickly tell you that what I did since I last saw you. I met friends in New York for the Met Gala Costume Institute show. That was fun. I'll have clips of some of the clothes that were in that exhibit at the end. I took a bunch of clips, so there may be some stills in there. I'm not sure. I probably won't show you everything. I'll just show you some of my favorite ones. But yeah, I did that. I went to Texas to see my son and granddaughter and daughter-in-law, and I got COVID on my way. I'm still recovering. It's been 2.5 weeks. I tested positive for 2 weeks solid. I'm still not 100%. I have a lot of congestion, which you might hear in my voice, and a little bit of a cough, but we're gonna see how this goes. I think I'll be okay. I was realizing that I need to catch up with you and I have so much to show you, and it was just gonna get to be more and more if I didn't keep going, if I didn't get going on this now. So I mean, otherwise you'll be here for a 2-hour episode like next month sometime. Anyway, so let's get into the knitting. Oh, and I'll have a couple little clips of Julie at the end. I'll talk to you about that later. All right, anyway, finished objects. I did a lot of knitting, even though I wasn't feeling well. I was mostly pretty okay to knit. There was the first couple days that I felt sick, I struggled. But it wasn't as bad as when I went, so wear a mask when you fly, because airlines are not sanitary places. They're just a cesspool of germs. Is when I went to Texas for around Christmas last year, I got RSV, and that was worse, I think. It took me a long time to recover from that too. And I was super tired with that. I'm still low energy with this. But definitely just wear a mask. I mean, I went to Texas and no one wears masks in Texas for anything, I don't think. But I do wish I wore one, because that's twice now that I've flown there and gotten very sick. So I'm gonna wear a mask from now on, even if I'm feeling great. So the gym sweater by Irene Lynn. I do not recall how I got here in terms of my decisions, why I chose the yarns. I'm just gonna give you the facts. And if you're interested in knowing, I think there was a cast on with me with this. I think it was a duo cast on. I had 2 cast ons. So you could probably, oh man, balloons. I don't know what I do. This makes balloons go up. Oh yeah, there we go. How weird. Anyway, there might be some editing in here when I cough, so if you see random splices, that's probably why. I had 11 skeins of the Lamb and Kid Todd worsted in the colorway Island Bunny. I don't know if you're gonna see that on there. Is it on there? Yeah, very small. Over on this label here, it says Island Bunny. It's not gonna focus. Okay, I'm just gonna read it to you. It's Island Bunny. This is a yak cashmere blend, 65% yak, 35% cashmere, 114 yards per 50 grams. Very expensive yarn. I splurged on it for my birthday this year, and my birthday's February. And I had a plan of what I was going to make. I bought 11 skeins. This is all I have left. And I had a plan that after I swatched for that sweater, it went out the window. I just changed my mind. I'm very mercurial on making decisions about what I'm gonna cast on. I usually commit to the yarn way before I commit to the pattern. And often I'm in a position of seeing a pattern I like a lot and looking through my stash to see what goes with it, or purchasing yarn and then thinking about what pattern might go with that. It's rare that I buy a pattern and then get the yarn that would work in that, although I have in my whip section a sweater that I did exactly that, and that was really unusual for me. So anyway, yes, this yarn is very luxurious. It has a lot of drape, which I think is important in this design. This is a very, very big, it's got so much positive ease. This is Martha, my mannequin. She's my size, so on me it will have an equal amount of ease. My hips are a little bigger than hers, but my chest, all the upper body, waist up, high hip up is the same. My low hip is bigger. So yeah, it fits me. I have a picture of me wearing it too, which I'll put in at some point in this. So yes, it was interesting. I didn't realize that this yarn, I don't think I've ever looked at a knitted piece and a knitted and blocked piece and a knitted and unblocked piece of this yarn swatched together. When you block this yarn, when you're knitting with it, it's much stiffer looking and it's much like kind of bulky looking than after you block it. After you block it, it becomes this like slinky, exactly what you're seeing, like just this very slinky fabric, and it's gorgeous and it's so soft and cozy. This is going to be a really, really nice cozy knit that will be really great for cool mornings, just like tossing on and wearing to the office or whatever in cool mornings this fall. I really loved the pattern. I thought the lace was easy to follow and easy to memorize. I memorized it pretty quickly. It is a drop shoulder, so you start at the top down, knit the back, and then knit from the shoulder, knit the back to the armhole drop, and then from the shoulder in the front, you do the left front, right front, join them around the neckline, and then finish, and then join in the round. And then you knit those sleeves from the top down. So yeah, typical kind of drop shoulder, top down, drop shoulder construction, I think, like to me. You can see that the neck ended up being pretty big. Here, I can show you there. So on the clip I was showing you, I was saying that I thought the neckband would fill in. So the neckband actually isn't intended to be as big as I thought. Like, I could have made it bigger, maybe a little bit, with this little tab of yarn I have left. But it's fine. It looks great on. I think it works on the body. And I was gonna drop her down. I have to drop the camera down. Oh, I'm telling you, COVID brain is real. The sleeves are very, very wide. It felt very wide to me knitting it. The ribbing is all 2x2, and it is very, very long, and you do decreases straight all the way down. Like, I did the last decrease on the cuff right before I bound off. So you continue decreasing after you form the rib. Yeah, it's a really pretty, really gorgeous piece. I really like it. I probably should get it off of Martha soon so it doesn't continue stretching out on the shoulders here. But it seems I put it on, it had been sitting on Martha for about a week because I finished it a while ago, a couple weeks ago. And then I put it on the other day to take a picture like 4 days ago, to take a picture and post it on Instagram to show that it was done. But yeah, I really love it. I'm super happy with the way it came out. I think the color, a nice neutral, is gonna be great. I'm just gonna go with a lot of things, and it's going to be a really comfortable, elegant looking sweater. I have to say, when I put it on, I thought to myself, I would really love this in a lightweight fabric, like a superwash fingering weight. But I'm just gonna put a pin in that thought and think about that later. I have been known to convert patterns from one weight to another, and it would actually be pretty easy with this pattern because she has like 6 or 7 sizes, and the smallest one is a 50 or 51 inch finished chest. My bust is 40, so that I'm already at 10 inches of positive ease, so it'd be pretty easy to knit. Maybe I knit size 2 or 3 in fingering weight, and I would have, the same sweater just in fingering weight. And I say superwash because superwash has a nice drape to it versus like a non-superwash, and I have superwash in my stash, so it would be something that I would pull out of my stash and knit with, or maybe some hand spun, some thin sport weight or something hand spun. Yeah, it's really pretty. I freaking love it. Very happy with it. I have other finished objects. I'm gonna go in order so that I'm going right along with episode 11, following up. I finished the socks I was making. This is my go-to sock pattern. Sorry if you find it boring if you've been here a while. I knit the same sock pattern. One of these days I'm gonna surprise you and knit something different. But the last 2 years, I think this is my 3rd year going, I have been knitting socks for my children, my adult kids, their partners, and my granddaughter every year. And this was the beginning of, when I first cast these on, I wasn't sure if I was going to keep them, but I realized after visiting my daughter-in-law, I was knitting this other pair that I have finished. I was knitting these shorty socks that are for one of my sons. His green is his favorite color. And I'll get to what the yarn is in a minute. And anyway, my daughter-in-law was like, oh my God, I love those, such a pretty color. And she really likes bright colors. So I realized I had finished these on the plane actually going there. And I just tucked them away in my suitcase so she never saw them. And I realized that these would be perfect for her. So she's going to get these. The pattern is Bear Paw by Andrea Mowry, modified to use a smaller needle. So I use a 2.5, US 2.5 or 3mm sock needle, and well, it's just any needle. It's not a sock needle necessarily. I do that because it makes a tighter fabric than the 3.5 that she wrote the pattern for. And I had already modified her DRK Everyday Sock, which is a fingering weight sock, to be knit in DK. And then she came out with the pattern after I'd already done some mods on my own. And so I just went back to my own recipe, following her pattern instructions, but using a smaller needle. And, you know, if that's something you're interested in doing, you could figure it out by looking at, like, figure out what I did. I don't want to give away the info because it is a paid for pattern, but you could figure out, follow in my footsteps, so to speak, by looking at some of my project pages, especially the ones from a couple years ago when I was working it out. I wrote my cast on amount, so you can, from there, the pattern is very formulaic, so you can just like follow the formula and just use your stitch count. The yarn is by Cat Sandwich Fibers. I'm not going to be getting good focus on labels, it looks like. The colorway is called Let's Play Video Games. And it is just it's her trusty DK, which is a 75/25 superwash merino nylon. It's so interesting. My eyesight is a little blurry, like blurrier up close than normal, I think because of the congestion, the sinus congestion I'm having. And then, yes, I made these shorty socks since I last spoke to you. And this is the amount I have left. This was a fingering weight that I held double to get DK. This has been in my stash forever. I think I bought this in 2016 or 2015 at Vogue Knitting Live. And I don't even know if this person dies anymore, but the yarn is called MooRoo, and the colorway is called Kelly's Choice, and it was just a superwash merino. I think there's nylon in there too, because it's the yardage, 438 yards, 100 grams of the merino nylon blends. But it's fine, it's for socks, so it worked. But yeah, it's little shorty socks for my son who wears shoe size 10. My daughter-in-law, me, and my daughter-in-laws, both of them, my other son's partner, and me, the women, we all wear size 8, shoe size 8. So it's very convenient. So I can just knit size 8 socks and figure out who I'm going to give them to later. Yeah, I had very little. I ended up making more rows than normal. I made, I can't tell you. Can I? I made 50 rows. I made 50 rows in the leg. I normally would do 40. And that used up practically every bit, not enough to even keep, of this skein of DK. And it was, did she give me the yardage? My granddaughter got a hold of my label and was squeezing it. I think it's there, but I just don't. Oh, there it is. 246 yards in 100 grams. So that was like a perfect amount for that length of leg. Sticking on socks, this is going to move us into whips. I do have another pair cast on. This is for the same project, the sock project for all the kids. This is for my son Julian, who lives in Texas. This is his favorite color, and his wife does not like orange all that much, but she likes red. So I'm making shorty socks for him so he could wear his wild and crazy color in his shoe, and she doesn't, need to be offended by it. Anyway, this is also deep stash. I have just a bit. I'm about 7 or 8 rows away from doing the instep. Also a yarn dyer who no longer dyes, Stitch Together Studio. And this was also deep stash from quite some time ago. This is her smooth sock base. Again, I'm holding 2 strands together. I just pull from the middle and the outside when I do that, when I hold 2 strands together for socks or for anything. And this was a club, she made a Johnny Cash club, and I think this was from like 2018. And the colorway is called Ring of Fire. And it came with a little black mini skein, which I have since, done something else with. Because I don't do contrast heels and toes, at least I haven't yet. Maybe once I did it, but not in this pattern. So I'm moving along on these. I'm super enjoying knitting socks. Like, it's just been really nice. It's, because I was knitting this and I was knitting this other whip that I'm about to show you, and they're both kind of concentration knits. I was using the socks for my mindless work, and so that's why I ended up going through them so quickly. And I've just been like, normally I would carry this little bag around, this little bag that I got from Jezebel B on Etsy. She's the grocery girls talk about her from time to time, but she makes these little bags that you can loop over your arm, and then like when you're standing in line waiting or walking, you can be knitting on the bag. I sometimes use this as a purse. I'll just throw my phone and my glasses in here too, and this is what I carry into a restaurant or something like that. But this is like my little travel knit bag. And I normally wouldn't knit on the socks at all when I'm home, but I've been knitting on them at night while I'm watching TV or something, and it's been really, really great. It's been nice. I mean, socks are great little projects that you can whip on through pretty fast. They'll feel very satisfying, especially these shorty socks. And my guy who's getting the orange socks, his feet are smaller than the guy who got the green socks, and they should go faster. His foot is just a little bit bigger than us ladies in my family. And my other guy has very big feet. I think he wears size 13. So those, I think, will also be shorty socks. Out of a skein of DK, I struggle to get a full leg. So you'll see those soon in the next month or 2. Okay, the socks for him and the other ladies. Because I spent some time last week when I was sick digging through my stash and figuring out which yarn I wanted to use for each of them. And did I figure him out? I'm not sure I figured him out. I might not have figured his, maybe I did. So I gave him hand spun socks last year, and I was worried that they're a little harder. They're a little more fragile than I think superwash, so. Tangents. It's what happens when you're, trying to remember everything. I have a little update on my, what the heck this is called, Albers. It's a slipover or vest by Sister Mountain. I think her name is Claire Mountain. So I've been working on this slowly. I have to say, like, it's not something that I love it. Love the way it's looking. Love the way it's knitting up. But it's not a project that I reach for very much, because every 4th row you're purling and you're doing color work and purling. You're purling your color work, and that's a bit of a drag because I can knit two-handed, like holding a color in each hand when I'm doing stockinette color work in the round. But if I have to purl and do color work, the only way for me to catch the floats is to, I know you could do ladders, but this, I don't know if it would be appropriate for ladders because your color work is so spread out. Maybe it would be. I don't know enough about them. But in order to catch the floats when I'm purling, I need to hold both yarns in my right hand. I'm an English knitter, so it just does not work for me otherwise. So yeah, that's a little slower. I made a pattern that had that before, had pearls in the color work and did the same thing, so it's just a little bit slower. And this is so many stitches. I know I talked a lot about this in my last episode. I think for my size, I want to say it's around 270, which for a fingering weight sweater, that's a lot of stitches. This is going to be a baggy. I don't know if it's going to be this baggy, but this is going to be pretty baggy, this knit. And I actually would love for it to be kind of long and baggy, like to my low hip, like maybe about what this one's doing, I guess. But I don't know if I have enough yarn. I am using all stash. I am using Green Mountain Spinnery Lana in the colorway Blanco, held with a strand of white mohair. And the white mohair I got from Webb's. It is their Valley Yarn brand. And it's just standard mohair. Like 73 mohair, 72 mohair, 28, something like that. 72 mohair, 28 silk, standard mohair silk. It feels a little rough on the skein, but when you wash it, it softens right up. And I did that because I had held a strand of white mohair with this same white yarn for another project, and I really loved the effect. And it was just the white, not holding mohair everywhere. So it just kind of gave it this nice, this really interesting texture that I really loved. And plus, my black yarn is a sport weight yarn. It is by Les Garçons. They're British wool, sport weight, in the colorway Moira's Black Rose. This is leftover. I had nearly a full skein, or maybe I did have a full skein left over from another project that I made last year. And I figured out that this would look really nice. I fiddled around a bit with what the contrast color would be, and I landed on this green yarn from GarnStories, also Deep Stash. This is the colorway Soap Opera. It's really cool. It's got like turquoise and some bright green and some like olive or scummy green. Maybe scummy green is the better way. And then some black speckles, brown speckles. It's just really, really right up my alley. And I love the way it's knitting up. Because you're getting like those pops of color of all those colors in the green texture stitch right there. So yeah, I'm excited to get this done. It's a slow knit though. I think I have about 7 inches knit right now, and the pattern recommends going for until like 11 or 12 inches. And then it's bottom up obviously, so I'll be figuring out how much more I can do as I go. But you know, I do have more white and more mohair, but this is all the black I have, and this is all the green I have. But so far I feel like I'm in pretty good shape. Like the green especially, there's tons of it. And the black, honestly, if I have to buy one more skein of black from the boys, like Garçons, that's fine. I wouldn't mind doing that, supporting them. So now I have a new cast on for you, which I did not do a cast on with me because I wasn't feeling well, and I finished this, and I just wanted to get going on something new. I spent a lot of time exploring some colorwork cast-ons, but I knew that I was better served waiting to cast on some colorwork when I get further along on the slipover, and that this was off the needle. I just needed, it was better for me to have like something that's kind of mindless with something that's more concentration, like 2 projects on the go and then my travel project. So that's always what I'm aiming for, and sometimes I have a little more and occasionally I have a little less. But I do tend to get my projects done faster if I limit myself to just those 3 types of projects. So as I said, I met some friends and went to the Met Gala. One of the friends that I met was Beth McDonald Stone, and she's a knitwear designer who you might be familiar with. She has a YouTube channel. The other friend was Lorian from Knitting And. I think Beth's channel is called Designs from the Rock, if I'm not mistaken. But she's from Bermuda, and she comes in and stays in New York for a month every summer. And so we made plans to get together and see a museum show and have lunch, and it was really great. Beth was wearing one of her designs, and I became very interested in it. I took note of it. She talked a little bit to us about it. We were asking her questions, and I kind of forgot about it. And then I was thinking about how I needed something kind of mindless. And my first thought when I saw her in it, because it was the middle of August, or the early August, that there really wasn't enough time. It's a linen tee. It's the Sea Swell tee, which I'll put a picture here. And it's sleeveless. My thought was, great, beautiful design, something for next spring, to make next spring so I could wear it all summer. And then when I was fishing for something that had some just plain stockinette knitting so I could have a more mindless project, I realized that I probably should just cast this one on, because actually it's pretty warm here, warm enough to wear linen. You can wear linen all year round. I just tend to wear linen more in the summer. I love linen t-shirts, for example, and I wear linen pants, and I just love wearing linen because it's so cool for the really sort of swampy, wet blanket weather that we get here in New York City. I did not tell you where I live. I actually live in New Jersey, along the Hudson River, right across the river literally right across the river from New York City. So you saw a clip in the beginning of our sort of swampy, very humid day. It's been beautiful the last couple days here. The last few days have been just spectacular, like clear and cool, like in the low to mid 70s every day, and just gorgeous. It's in the 80s today, though. I have the ACs on just for the afternoon, just to cool off the apartment. But yeah, we tend to have fairly warm weather through the end of September. So I was like, this is kind of crazy. Like, this is not going to be that long of a knit. And it is, at least it's sleeveless, so it's not going to take me that long. It's mostly stockinette. There's a little bit of patterning at the bottom. And she was wearing it over a dress. She styled it very cute. I loved it. But Beth's was also kind of cropped, like, not this long for sure. So I'm going to try to figure it out. It is top down, so I'll figure out what length is going to be good for me. So I bought the exact same yarn that the pattern called for, and I realized that I left all of it over there. So 1 minute. Okay. Yeah, all the yarn with their labels. So it's a linen t-shirt made out of Antigone, which is by Naturum. I'm sure I butchered that somehow. Clearly it is French. But anyways, 100% linen yarn. This is my main color. This like sort of pale green. It's a little on the blue side, which I was a little disappointed in that because I tend to like more yellow greens than blue greens, but I think it'll work. It'll work out. Here's what I have so far. This is a top down. This is actually the back, and I'm knitting flat because it is top down, not really drop shoulder, but because there aren't any, it's more of a kind of a boat neck, I think. But I'll talk to you about that in a sec. But just like, yeah, this is the back. I have about 4.5 or maybe 5 inches knit, and I have to knit a few more inches, and then I'll go back and pick up the stitches in the front, which are on this barber cord, and knit the front, and then it'll be knit in the round for the rest of the body. The construction of this is pretty interesting. You cast on the rib neck, stitches for the rib neck, just like you would on a top down, and you immediately start doing some increases to create this shoulder line, which was super interesting to me, the construction of that. So you can see this is the shoulder line, and yeah, and then what happens, which you could probably see better on the front, what happens is that you end up, because you're doing these rapid increases for the shoulder line, you end up with fabric that kind of creates like little gathers, almost like some extra fabric that just kind of gives this really interesting shoulder detail, which I really, really loved watching. Looking at it on Beth, it just looked amazing, and it was such a cute detail. I did not get gauge, even though I never get gauge. It's really rare for me to get gauge. I'm a loose knitter, so I tend to have a looser gauge than most people. I can literally look at a gauge on a pattern and just go, oh no, I'm not going to get that with that needle size. But this was unfamiliar yarn, and I wasn't sure, so I went ahead and used the needle sizes recommended, which are really small. I'm knitting this on a size 3 needle. So really small, 3.25 millimeter for most of the body. So you're knitting the ribbing using a 2, and then when you do the color work in a bigger size needle, bigger than the stockinette, which she talks a lot about in the pattern, about going up a needle size, that it's important, and that the hip measurement is smaller than the bust because of that's where the color work lands. And I think what I'm going to do to mitigate that, I think I'm going to go up 2 needle sizes, but I'll figure it out. Anyway, did not get gauge, and I ended up, I'm making the smallest size to get to a size 3. So, yeah. So you can see how it would kind of look. This is the back, though. And there are some short rows that you do after the ribbing to raise the back, so... But anyway, it's interesting knit. There was a lot of concentrating on the early part of the structure of it. You use the 3 colors for the color work, so I'll show you those. I'm not going to try to say the color names because 1, I can't read them very well with I don't have my glasses nearby, and 2, I'm sure to mispronounce them, so I'll just put them on screen or in the show notes if I forget to put them on screen here. But yeah, these are the colors that I picked for the color work, so you can see the whole palette is this. So I just did I did a tonal palette, so a light green with a darker green, and then a gold and a blue. I actually could not get, this was not my first choice for the body color. I had another first choice, and I ended up buying the yarn from 2 different places. I really wanted this gold in there somehow, but I didn't want it to be the main color. This was in Beth's as well, I think. And I think this might have been a color she used too. I'm not sure. But yeah, I ended up doing a little scrounging around trying to find the colors that I wanted. And so I bought these 3 from one store and these 3 for my main color from another store. But it's not terribly expensive yarn. I think the project ended up being yarn wise like maybe a little over $100 for the yarn, which wasn't, to me, not bad. I don't even remember what this one was, but very expensive yarn, 11 skeins. So that was a very expensive project, but worth it, in my opinion. So yes, that's the Sea Swell Tee by Beth McDonald Stone. It's my first time actually knitting a pattern of hers, which I'm sure she's noted. It really made a difference for me to see the pattern in person. And she has a couple other really adorable patterns coming out. One that she did a special sweater for Cake Wool, and then she has another sweater with a texture yoke stitch that's really cool, that I like, they're both in testing right now, I think. So I'm definitely keeping an eye on those to see if those kind of vibe with my knitting plans. Yeah, now that's all the knitting I have for you. I do have a little bit of spinning to catch you up on. I think last time I think I talked about this last time. I've been doing a lot of combo spins, and I have about maybe 4 minutes or so of some footage that I made when I was spinning this yarn, which is a combo spin, which I'll show you more than just flash it to you after you watch the clips. But I have been doing combo spins to use up my fiber stash, because when I learned how to spin, I just went crazy with the fiber clubs and got a lot of like bats or roving braids that would only make 1 skein of yarn. And I just ended up with a bigger than I want collection. So I stopped buying fiber, aside from little, I stopped collecting fiber. Let's put it this way. I didn't stop buying it. I just stopped collecting it. So I ended up planning a whole bunch of combo spins. I am in the middle of one now, which I'll show you next time, and I have this one to share with you. I have some info about what a combo spin is, I'm pretty sure, on these 4 minutes or so of footage to just explain to you what I did, how I got to the finished yarn. So I'm gonna have you watch that and then come back and we'll talk about this.
Okay, this is my latest combo spin, and since it may be a little while before I do a full episode, I thought I would just capture my thoughts on this. Total experiment color-wise. Like, this is one of those where it's like, let's just see what happens kind of thing. So the idea is that these 3 get plied together, which I think the rose gold one, this one, is going to end up being a nice neutral between these. Like, all 3 of them have a lot of hot pink in them. So I don't know. We'll see. I may hate it. I hope I like it. But anyway, I wanted to just share, my God, my hands are so tired, so sore from drafting these highly textured bats. So if you're a spinner, you already know this, but like these highly textured bats that this was, and this one wasn't quite as textured, and I think you can see it in the bobbin. not quite as textured as this one. They're really hard on the wrists because if you're doing short forward, it's a lot of like change in tension as you draft. So it's not like when you're drafting roving, it's all the same tension. So sometimes I have to pull harder or pull not quite as hard. So it's a lot of back and forth, and it can get kind of tiresome. They're really better for this type of high texture bat is really better for long draw, where you end up making like a heavy worsted to bulky weight yarn. That's very slubby and thick, thin kind of thing. So this one was primarily roving. I had a little bit of a bat that I was putting in there. So this was probably the easiest color to spin out of this collection. So the next thing is these are all single ply. So next thing is to ply them together and see what we get. Hopefully, like I said, I'll like it, but I'll show you a bit of that process if I can. I'm actually done spinning today, so the plying and stuff will happen another day. But yeah, I brought over my Lazy Kate, one of my cats, very curious kitty. So this is what I'll use for applying these 3-ply. Actually, I'll show you in a second. Let me just set it up. Okay, here it is all set up. Interesting thing too that I was thinking about as I was spinning these was that the yardage may vary. I made sure the weight of each color was exactly the same or fairly close. Like, I think I shot for 100 grams, maybe 110 grams each. I have a feeling the yardage on this is going to be less because it was so chunky in its texture. But funny, these two should be pretty close, but this bobbin definitely has more on it than this one. So we'll see what happens. I may end up like when I run out of one color, that's it. The 3-ply is done. And then after that, I'm making like a very different color, like maybe doing 2 of one of these just to finish out. Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Okay, you're back. All right, so here is the finished yarn. This ended up being like a worsted weight yarn, and very moody. It's really interesting to me, like how the combo works together. I mean, it's funny, this kind of reminded me a bit of like the Oriental rugs that were really popular when I was a kid, like in the 70s and stuff. They're probably, you still see them these days, but like people had in the 70s had authentic rugs from the Middle East and from the Far East, and they were just called Oriental rugs. Whether they were from the Far East or not. But for some reason, this just reminded me of them. But yeah, just really, really interesting. I think I don't have the yardage handy, but I think I ended up with about 700 yards of what I think is a worsted weight. But I have no plans. My thought was on the fiber that I have in my stash, I'd had 4 big plastic bins of fiber in my stash. I'm down to 3 from doing the spinning from the stash, not buying new. And I'm going to spin until I'm down to 2 bins, and then I hope to get down to 1 bin and just keep 1 bin. I was figuring out, I think 1 bin would hold about 4 or 5 sweaters quantities of fiber, like enough yarn to make some sweaters. So but I can see already that I'm getting down to, I have a lot of earth tones yarn in or fiber. I have a lot of earth tone fiber in my stash, and I don't necessarily love to wear earth tones. So although I have people around me that do, but I find them kind of boring to work on. This is earth tone, right? When's the last time you saw me make a neutral sweater. It's been a long time. This is probably the only one you're going to see for another year or more, because I tend to make more brighter. I love brights and midtones. That's my jam. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm happy. Brights and midtones. I do love black as well, but I just realized that, and you can see like my bedroom is just over my head. It's like this turquoise color. That's my favorite color right there. I love that color, and it's all over my house, and also as well as like a lot of white, just that sort of beachy vibe. So yeah, I have a lot of earth tone fiber in my stash, and I'm running out of things to mix it with to get more color. So I don't know what I'm going to do, whether I'm just going to spin a bunch of brown yarn or I'm going to buy some fiber and mix some color in with them and like kind of douse that earthy tones. I know a lot of people love earthy tones. It's no judgment. It's just subjective, right? It's like what we all like, what we like. Yeah, so that is what has been going on over here. I also did a pretty big destash. Super proud of myself. I sold more than 50 skeins, gifted some, probably another 4 or 5 skeins, so maybe close to 60 skeins I've destashed. And most of those were fingering weight, so if I averaged yardage wise, I basically got rid of about 20,000 yards of yarn. A lot of it old single skeins, one skein of fingering weight indie dyed yarn that had been in my stash for 5 or more years. That it was just time to stop trying to, like, it would take me forever, years and years and years, to knit all of that into socks for the kids. So, and that's basically the only thing I'm using indie dyed fingering weight yarn for. So these days, like, occasionally I can work some into one skein or so into a sweater, like I am with the Albers slipover, but it's hard to use just one skein of fingering weight yarn unless you're doing shawls and you're mixing a bunch together to make a fade or something like that. So I was really happy I destashed, sold a lot of them, and yeah, I was really so proud of myself. I might do some more destashing in the new year. I'm gonna just kind of, or maybe later this fall, I'm just gonna kind of settle. The destashing I would do next would be mini skeins, because I have a lot of mini skeins, but I'm gonna be thinking a lot about what to do with some of the mini skeins that I have. I have 2 full advent sets, like 2 24 skein mini sets, and then I have a 12 skein mini skein set, and then I have a whole lot of mini skeins that I've just collected over the years, and I haven't really used that much. So yeah, so I may do that. I may destash a bunch of those and just like put them together in little sets and destash them that way. We'll see how it goes, see how much they bug me. But I have to say, like, it's been great. I have so much room in my stash. I have mini, like in where I store my stash, there's lots of room ready for all of these combo spins to be stored there instead, and for me to think about those and how to incorporate those and knit with those in projects going forward. So I'm excited about that. I think it's good for me, and it's going to be good to get those plastic storage bins that are holding all my fiber under my bed, to get them out from under my bed and just have more, less, keep sitting on top of less things. My stash will be in the store. That is where I'm heading, trying to head anyway, where maybe I'm buying yarn for no particular project like I always do, but at least I have room. I have some room to store that, and it's not like bursting at the seams. So that's where I'm at right now. I have plenty of room in my stash storage cupboard, so it's really great. Love it. I think that's all I got. I have been down a rabbit hole for some colorwork sweaters that will be in my next cast on with me, episode 6. So that'll be coming up in the next couple weeks, I think. I need to feel like I'm making more progress on the Albers sweater before I cast on a new cast on with me. Although one of them has a lot of just plain stockinette, similar to and more limited color work, similar to the Sea Swell tee, where you knit a lot of the sweater first in flat stockinette or stockinette in the round before you start doing the colorwork sections. So, but I'm so excited to show those to you and to share them with you. I've been filming my process, and I have a lot of footage that when I'm done editing this video, I will be putting together for the next video, just so I can see what I've got and I can just continue to document that process. So super excited to share that with you, and to get those sweaters on my needles. And yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what it's all about. But I'm going to end it here. It's plenty long enough, this video, and with all the extra clips, it's going to be really long. I am going to add on some clips at the end of the museum show and of of my granddaughter in Texas. She started school, so there's a cute little clip of her on her first day of school. And yeah, just, stuff like that. And I will see you again real soon. Oh, and there'll be cats. There's always cats, right? I have 2 beautiful cats that are just such a joy. But yeah, there'll definitely be some clips of them. And I will see you very, very soon. I hope all is well with you. Take care. Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Where's your face? I don't know where's your face. You're a ghost. You're the ghost of who? Who are you the ghost of?